5 tips master
What's going on?
class.
I love it.
You like that?
Or is it gonna
That's
show
how
up
we
right
do
here?
it. That's how we do it. I got Nanwa.
What's going on?
Long overdue, man.
I know,
I had the
man.
pleasure of being on your show.
I know. I appreciate
a while
that.
back, and
Yeah.
now we get to talk, and I get to ask the tough questions.
And I'm a little nervous. I'll say that.
Nah, man. Nah, you're good. You're good. So a little bit of background. I have like a paragraph this big about this dude. So I'm gonna give you guys a little point of it.
It's
and we'll
big
get to we'll get to more of it as we chat. He's a smart dude coming out of the MBA program, got BCom and honors, McMaster University.
Yeah, represent. Love McMaster.
Right. Big party town, man. Big
I
party
know.
town.
Hamilton is crazy. I used to promote South Asian parties. That's where I first heard about you, because I had a couple people that I used to work with.
That guy that always got drunk and we tossed him out.
It's like, we're trying to go to disiFEST. It's like, we're trying to hang out with Sats.B. I was like, Sats.B? Who's Sats.B? I need to know Sats.B 10 years later.
Here we are. It's like master. And then you did assistant brand manager work at Snickers.
Yeah, Snickers, for Mars Chocolate, yeah.
Pimping out that candy, which I love,
man,
which is
it's
awesome.
Cool. Gained a lot of weight, too.
And from a marketing perspective, you've got experience in real estate, financial services, pharmaceutical. That's a nice mix. Consumer goods.
It's good, man. And you know what? And what I like about this experience is it sort of allowed me to sort of build myself up as a marketer, and in the corporate world especially, when you're able to work in so many different industries from a marketing standpoint, it allows you to be very versatile.
Yeah.
Now, in my new role, which I think you'll mention in a few moments, like when I'm dealing with, now on the business development side, when I'm dealing with different clients, it's easy for me to kind of speak their language.
CFL.
Yeah.
CFL, Manager Corporate Partnerships.
I know, new role, yeah.
That's massive, man.
I know, it's crazy, man. I'm totally humbled. Shouts to my Canadian Football League family. It's the world of sports, man, and business development's always been, actually, better yet, connecting with people has always been a passion of mine, and now I get to do it for a living, which I like. I love the brand management stuff, but I've always been a bit more of a creative. Now I'm able to sort of connect with people and build creative strategies and, see them come to life through a sport that's authentically Canadian and, over 12 million fans across the country. It's exciting, man.
No, I don't have a lot of fans yet on this particular channel. So tell me for real, how much do you love football? How much do you love it now?
I probably, I appreciated the CFL before I joined, but now I became a fan because, man, the passion's unreal. And, when you think about Canada and Canada's 150s as an example, and the fact that we celebrate, Canadians love to celebrate the fact that they're Canadian, there's nothing better than the CFL, man.
Now, I got to confess, I've never been to a game.
Really? We got to bring you out.
I got to go. Now that I got somebody in the office, I will be at my first CFL game.
The next 5 tips will be on the field at an Argos
First
game.
tips, you should come to the game. Tip 2, you should spend some money and support us.
100%. Support your local team.
So that's the corporate side.
Yeah.
So you have built a brand as an academic and as a brand marketer. Then you got your, I was going to say passion side, but I don't really like to split it up. There's another version of you that is the host of Business Casual that was on Rogers.
TV,
right? Yeah. And that's where I was a guest host of, and my friends list grew that night with the spike, which is awesome.
You talked about side hustling. You're the king of side hustling, man.
Side hustle. And then you launched a podcast called The Network.
I did,
right?
yeah.
And that's still running, and you're still doing the podcast?
It's off and on. It's funny because the thing what I like about podcasting, especially when you sort of have your own equipment, you have the opportunity to sort of do whatever you want. Like, it's your own platform. So eventually, so I actually, before I did all this media stuff, I had my first opportunity, and you probably remember this too, with Nuts Radio. Remember Nuts Radio? Yeah. Shouts to the whole Nuts Radio family.
They were good people.
Yeah, they were really good people, man. And they gave me my first start sort of in media because I literally, like you mentioned, I was a business student. I had no media experience. I always been a confident presenter when it comes to marketing and school presentations, but I always had this itch of wanting to kind of try out media and do it in a way that's like sort of risk free. And Nuts Radio gave me an opportunity, so I did that. And it was a show called The Network, similar to the podcast, where I'd interview successful South Asians, similar to how you're doing it now, except I'm not successful yet. Gotta keep it humble. But from there, one thing led to another. I knew Jake Deere from Rogers, so he gave me the opportunity to come to
Jake's
Rogers.
A good guy.
I love Jake, and it was amazing. Like, I got to host plethora of shows. So like I did Talk Local / Cable 10 Live, which was like the political community show. I got to cover like the provincial and municipal election, which was fun. Got to host a business show. Like I was able to bring a business show back to Rogers because it'd be missing for so long. And I'd be at, events, and the Board of Trades would be like, hey, you should do a business show. Like, you come from a business background, you know what you're doing from a hosting standpoint. And it was amazing, man. It helped me really connect with the community. And the whole goal with Business Casual was to do a show that like the everyday person could watch and not feel like we're talking about stock prices. And, talk about issues that matter, like side hustling.
Right.
Like, how relevant is that?
Right. Yeah. No, it was a great show, and it might come back. We don't know. But we can't do anything.
Drop a little teaser left and right.
And of course, the big one, top 40 under 40.
Oh man,
recognized in Brampton.
Yeah. Shouts to the city of Brampton and Board of Trade. I got recently recognized top 40 under 40 first year.
Man.
It's amazing, man. I'm very humbled. I grew up in that city, and to get that kind of recognition, and I think you and I were talking because you recently also got recognized by Ryerson University with an alumni award, and it means a lot when like the place you sort of learned your chops, or I grew up in Brampton since I was like 6 years old, so having this recognition was pretty heartwarming.
It's good, man. As I said, and I predicted on this show that we're gonna have Mayor Nav, Brampton's Mayor Nav in like 5 years, and I'm gonna host a political show right here for him.
He's gonna host a political debate right here.
All you guys. And look, this is just the tip of the iceberg, so I'm so happy you're here.
Oh man, appreciate it.
This is our 4th episode.
Okay, excellent.
Of the Master 5-tip Masterclass, and it's a new concept. So what we're trying to do with these 5 tips is, connect with the audience in a very real way, and talk about stuff that people hear about as a young person, but don't really know to understand. So today we're going to talk about what the fuck is a personal brand?
Personal branding, man.
And it's cool to swear.
Yeah, oh yeah?
I've been told from my other guests, and Dinesh broke the ice. If you're watching it, Dinesh, because of you, I feel free to swear on my show.
I feel like Dinesh always breaks the ice.
He's that guy.
No matter
He's
what
that guy. Right? But, this topic of personal brand, because like you, I've got this business personal brand.
Yep.
People know me as an entrepreneur, digital marketer guy. And then there's a whole world of people that only knows me as a music guy.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they meet each other, they look at each other like, are we talking about the same dude?
Exactly.
Right?
And I get that all the time. And that's the one thing I've really been loving the last couple of years is it's sort of like you're living like a dual life.
Yeah.
And you and I, when we first met, we connected because a lot of your clients for your agency were CPGs, so you spoke the same language that I would speak. But then we also connected on other stuff because you were working on desiFEST, and we're doing the Rogers TV thing.
And music, we're both fans of music.
Yeah, both big fans of music. We love, the local scene, whether it be South Asian or even just local hip hop, whatever. We just love to kick it about music and just, shoot the shit. And that's the stuff that's sort of exciting me. Is like I remember just working. I used to work at Maple Leaf Foods. I'd be working at Maple Leaf Foods like the day after an election, being so tired because we would stay up all night just kind of covering it. And then my executive assistant at the time, Sathish Bala, she came up to me and she was like, I think I saw you on TV last night. And I was like, yeah, shh, don't tell anybody. And
That's awesome.
But you know what? The one thing I'll say is having, and maybe we'll get into this later, but having that ability to sort of stand out and finding that ability to stand out really sets you apart.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten opportunities because I'm perceived as a bit of a jack of all trades. Like, oh, this guy understands marketing, but he also understands how to put a show together. And it's very beneficial, and that's the one thing I would recommend right from the get-go to anybody outside of the personal branding tips that we're going to be talking about. Is like find out like what separates you from the pack, because it's going to pay dividends at the end of the day.
So let's segue into
the tips.
What is a brand?
What is a brand?
Because most people don't know how to answer that. They can tell you an example. Just do it.
Yeah.
That's a brand,
Nike's
right? But from a professional perspective and also from sort of building your own brand, how would you explain to somebody what is a brand?
I would say a brand is a promise that you make to an individual about what you can deliver. And the reason why I say that is, you think about Nike and you use Just Do It as an example. Nike's been very successful at empowering everyday people to become athletic. Sure, they have deals with like LeBron James and like a bunch of different athletes, but at its core, if you look at a lot of Nike's advertising, it's everyday people that are just literally going out for a run, wanting to be fit. And that's their promise. Their promise is you don't have to be a superstar athlete to wear our clothes. You can be, someone who's starting to use the gym now more frequently, but we'll get you to where you need to be.
Right.
I would say like another, and that's the point. That's the key about branding is you have to be able, from a personal brand standpoint, you have to be able to. It's all perception. You have to be able to sort of depict how you want to be perceived by other individuals, and you almost have to promise that whatever way that they perceive you, that's what you deliver in everything that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is also true in a lot of just life.
Yeah.
Right. Like
exactly.
if we took away the marketing language, it's like, do what you say you're gonna do.
Exactly.
And then just get the shit done.
Yeah. Get your shit done.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll have trustworthy friends.
100%.
Or you're that shady dude.
Yeah. That no one, you lose credibility, right?
Right. So in a simplified way, the brand is really, do you want to be a shady dude with like no friends? Or you want to be that guy that everybody's like, yeah, I trust Nat.
Yeah,
He said he'll drop by at 5. He dropped by at 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And he's going to deliver what he said he's going to deliver. And from a getting into tips perspective, can you consciously create a brand? Or getting into the first tip, how would you talk to somebody who said, well, I don't even know where to begin?
Yeah. And again, the first tip I would say when you're sort of mapping out your first, your personal brand is authenticity.
Okay.
Like it's very important to sort of figure out what does authenticity mean to you? How do you want authenticity to be perceived by the people that you're meeting on an everyday basis? What do you think authenticity is all about when you meet other people? It's the one trait that right from the get-go will separate you from the rest because it's truly who you are as a person rather than who you're trying to be. And there's so many times where I've met people and they're very successful, but then when I meet them in person, I'm like, these people just don't feel authentic. Like I feel like they have to be a certain way because they feel like if they're not that way, they're not going to see success. On the get-go, there's like certain people like yourself where I meet where it's like you can tell right from the get-go that authenticity exists, whether it's you're in a one-on-one meeting or whether you're rocking a stage at Yonge and Dundas Square, right? So ultimately, it comes down to authenticity, and it comes down to you figuring out what kind of person you are, because I think people have this pressure on them that, I got to be extroverted, I got to be on social media. Some of the best people that are successful, that have really good personal brands, aren't on social media, but they're known within their organizations. Right. They're known within other circles because they just make that impact on another person. Right.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And then just to stay on that for a second, I meet a lot of people that be like, I just want to be real.
I want to be so real, man.
B, I want to be real.
I want to be real with you for a second.
And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and I struggle with that because sometimes, there's moments where I'm like, okay, is the real me this loud, extroverted Sats.B?
Yeah.
Or this calculative, strategic Sathish Bala that runs an agency?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right? Like, do you, when you look at yourself, and I see a lot of sort of similarities in our stuff, do you think through that, or is it just in both there's an authentic you that just governs everything?
You know what? I feel like, admittedly, I had to grow into that. Growing up, especially because I did my MBA like really soon after my undergrad. Like I took a year off in between and helped out my aunt's real estate business, and then I really did my MBA because I felt like from a mental standpoint I wasn't ready for the corporate world.
Right.
And dude, there was a lot of trial and error during those 3 years I did my MBA and sort of figuring out, okay, how do I need to be perceived? How do I go about sort of building credibility with people that I meet? How do I, stand out in an interview?
Right.
How do I do this? How do I do that? A lot of it comes down to trial and error. And what I've grown to realize that the situations that I've succeeded in are situations where I've really just been myself and I've been real with the people. Yeah. Like I hate to use the word real, but just sort of manage their expectations, but also sort of let them know right from the get-go the kind of person I am. Like transparency is so key. No, it's not one of the tips, but it should be. Yeah. But transparency is so key, not for you and other people, but for you and yourself internally. Like,
that's a great point.
You need to sort of take a step back and sort of check yourself and think about, okay, like when I'm interacting in my everyday life, especially if you're young and you're just finishing off your schooling or you're entering into the corporate world, what you do now doesn't necessarily define you for the rest of the future, but could define just some short-term moves you plan on making.
Right.
And it's important to sort of kind of take a step back and really think about it.
No, it's just to share a little story about desiFEST. I remember our very first year with RBC.
Yeah.
And MTS, Saeed, who's the VP there, he's still the VP there.
Oh, yeah?
Watching, nice. Shout out. But you know, I remember at the end of the show, our very first year, he came up to me and he's like, man, I just love how like even your costume in the evening is so on brand and you're connecting with the kids and like the hat to the side and the low jeans. And I was like, hey man, I wore the same outfit 2 weeks ago. Like, this wasn't a costume.
Really?
Like, when they see me 3 weeks from now, this is the look. Like,
I know,
you know, the crowd needed to understand that I'm not putting on a show to represent a community or culture. This is who we are.
And that's authentic, and that's your brand, and that's the one thing people fail to realize. Like, there's so many people I know that walk around that they feel very uncomfortable wearing a suit. Because like, oh, I'm forced to wearing a suit because I got to wear one to work. That's fine. You know, we all find ourselves in that situation. But if you take a step back, don't like force fit yourself into being something.
Yeah.
Find what distinctively makes you unique, and probably it's a good segue to the second tip that I had, and that's really like find what your specialization or find what your niche is. You know, people who get successful with their personal brands are the ones that are thinking outside the box and are being more focused around the kind of service or the kind of thoughts or leadership that they want to provide. You know, for me, when coming up, you know, I really wanted to be like the music marketing specialist. So, you know, when I came up, you know, in my MBA, I was researching like Billboard and a lot of different like music publications because I wanted to learn more about the business side of music. Nowadays, like I feel like, you know, for me, my niche is a little bit broader, but music's always been something that sort of comes up, and I'm very vocal on social media about it. I'm very vocal on my friends about music. Like, I'm very vocal about just, you know, artists that I meet and collaborating with them to sort of make things happen. And I guess a lot of that credibility is mainly because, you know, I let people know, hey, I'm a music head. I love music. I don't play it. I'm not good at it, but I'm a fan, and, you know, it's something I'm passionate about and something I want to be around. And I think that's the importance about it, is you see people that are networking specialists or they're personal branding specialists. Like, what does that really mean? It's more so about, you know, if you love football, as an example, you know, it doesn't hurt to create your personal brand around that, because you'll find that you'll start building a following with like-minded individuals who have the same interests, and all of a sudden you could find yourselves in a way of sort of being a thought leader, right? Yeah. We've seen it happen, and that's why social media is so important. That's why YouTube's blown up. That's why, you know, people have big followings on Twitter, especially Instagram, because it's more of a visual representation of your niche. But it's a great way to sort of separate yourself and to really zero in on a specific area.
Well, put your marketing hat on and let's do a quick breakdown. So, Just Rain, Superwoman, and AK.
Yeah.
All three in Outlook are YouTube stars.
Yeah.
They all speak to the same millennial young they see, but all three of them have a defined niche.
They do. They definitely do.
Can you help us break down what you think those niches are?
Superwoman's niche, personally, I think she does a really great job at sort of targeting you know, young females and really empowering them. You know, I think she's done a fantastic job right from the get-go in regards to sort of kind of laying out, you know, female empowerment and being very motivational and you know, sort of putting her own story out there to sort of get people you know, invested. And I think, you know, even just by going by the name Superwoman, right away you sort of assume, okay, wow, like, you know, Superwoman in the comic books is the female version of Superman. So it's like, okay, like, you know, this is someone who has a lot of strength. This is someone who feels invincible. And it right away just gets people invested. And then she
11 million subscribers.
It's crazy, yeah. She blew up.
As of like a week ago or something.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
She's a star, man.
You know, I check her vlogs every now and then. So is my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, and I see so many young people, and like especially the last 2 years, people are like, hey, Superwoman headlining this year? Okay, let her put out an album.
Yeah.
And then she puts out an album or a music video.
Yeah.
You know, that girl's unstoppable.
It's crazy, man.
What about the other two?
Just Rain, you know, Just Rain, I think he's found a really good niche at really relating to some of the people that I like grew up with in regards to just, you know, being very comedic, having that comedic nature around, you know, your parents and your family. Just, you know, when I look at a Just Rain video, I think about, you know, how I used to shoot the shit with my boys about like family moments. Like, you know, remember he had the famous video with the drunk uncle. Like, we all have that in our family. And like the way that, you know, and again,
everybody's nodding backstage.
Yeah, again, he found his niche in regards to, you know, taking real life stories and being able to sort of convey them and put them out in a way that everybody could relate. And that's the thing. If you're able to find your niche and sort of specialize in a specific idea or a specific thought, you'll find like-minded individuals that are going to share the same feelings as you.
Last comments on AK?
AK, amazing man. Like I've met him a couple times. I think he's a super cool dude. I think he's really raw with his approach. But again, he's like one of the homies, right? Like I think
he's got a great following.
He's got a great following, and I think what his niche is he just kind of speaks whatever's on his mind. Yep. And he doesn't hold anything back. And for some people, it's amazing. People dig it. Some people, find that to be a bit crude. But I personally, I'm a fan. I think if you have that platform and you have the following, why not use it?
Yeah. So we got tip 1 is be authentic, or find out what it means to be authentic, and then be on that journey to get there.
Exactly.
And tip 2 is find your niche. And these 3 examples we talked about, part of it is their unique personalities, but the other thing is, those communities can overlap.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I've heard people say, well, there's already an AK, there's already a Superwoman, I can't do it. No, if you have a niche that the same Superwoman audience could still like you and follow you, 100%. But you can't be her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's not a niche, that's just copying.
And you know what it is, like it's something as small as, being like a single dad and starting a blog, right? Like chances are you're gonna put yourself out there, you're gonna sort of maybe document your everyday life and just how you interact with your kid or kids. But soon enough, like you might end up creating a persona where there's a whole community of single dads that are going to be looking to you.
Idea, bro.
You're going to text all your single dads right now.
Somebody write that down. That's a really cool show idea, man.
But again, it comes down to the fact that if you can, if you can be relatable, and that comes with the authenticity and the ability to find your niche, the following will come, and people will start believing in you, and your personal brand will just sort of create itself.
Okay, let's go to tip 3.
Tip 3, be humble. So many people I know, I feel like the humble brag, and I'll be completely raw because I know that's how we like to talk here on 5 Tips, but I feel nowadays people like to really put out a humble brag every now and then, and some people do it more so than others, and for me, sometimes I get a little clouded and I'm like, man, just remember where you came from, remember that it's one thing to sort of show that, you're doing this and you're making movements and you're doing a great job. But soon enough, if you keep sort of pushing that and you keep sort of telling people, oh, I'm hustling, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it's going to fall on deaf ears. People are just going to be like, oh, this guy's all talk. And I've seen it happen to people where, they talk about the gigs that they're getting. They talk about, the amount of people that they're in front. They talk about, just a whole bunch of stuff. And the issue is sooner than later, you're just like, oh, one of these posts again, and you'll lose followers based on that. And
he's traveling again.
Yeah,
he's having fancy wine in another.
Oh, he's meeting this celebrity, and it's all good. I'm pretty. I get it. I become a victim of that sometimes. One of the things that I always now kind of use my social media for is if I get the luxury to, so I MC quite a lot of events. If I get the luxury of MCing an event, I'm promoting it, but I'm making sure that when I'm promoting me emceeing, I'm not just promoting the fact that I'm there, I'm promoting the fact that it's the event that's happening and when it's happening, and providing a link. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I think that's where your credibility gets built, because you don't really make it all about yourself. You're making it all about the cause or the event or even just the group that you're supporting. And I think that's what it comes down to, is just sort of finding that fine balance of, sure, it's great to toot your own horn, it's good for the ego, but making sure that you sort of control your ego a bit. And speaking of ego, Jay-Z has a line on his new album about how sometimes you just you gotta rely on your ego to check other people. And I'm totally in favor of that. I believe in that. But I also feel like to an extent, you don't need to do it every day.
Do you think being sort of in this, so we're talking to a young community, right?
Yeah.
The 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. In a very uber competitive world where your social, I would say, show off is your credibility sometimes. So how do we figure out what's the difference between sort of positive sharing to grow your brand versus that line where now it's show off? Is there a formula for that, or is it more of trial and see how many people unfollow you and then you're like,
oh man, so you need to stop posting about that. You know what? I'm not sure if there's a fine balance. I think it's all about just how you put it out there. For me, my Instagram account, not only do I promote the events that I'm affiliated with, but I have a lot of family stuff on there too. And I use it as an opportunity to sort of, give my followers, I don't have many, but give them an opportunity to sort of kind of get a sense of what my everyday life is like. And there's some people that I know that, literally are just humble bragging to the max, or if they're interacting with, certain important people, they're snapping photos just to kind of get some likes. And that's another thing too, is a lot of people are just obsessed with acceptance on social media. Like I know people that simply, sometimes when they're feeling down and out, they'll post a photo just to kind of get back up again. And you're just like, wow, it's almost like social media is a bit of a drug. But outside of that, like I think you just need to find a way to find your authentic voice. It goes back to authenticity, but sort of be humble about it. If you had a great opportunity, sure, celebrate it. But that doesn't mean that we need to hear about it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So tip 3 is be humble, not humble brag.
Humble brag sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Humble brag sometimes, but most of the time, find a purpose for sharing.
Yeah, find a purpose. Yeah, I like that.
Number 4.
Get yourself out there, man.
Yeah.
If there's anything that I feel like that's benefited me, is I'm not scared to go to an event. I'm not scared to sort of try something new in the social space. I'm not scared to be seen, pretty much. Like, I think that's the key thing, is if you're visible and you really get yourself out there, and you may be looking at this being like, oh, I'm a bit of an introvert, like I hate like social situations. There's ways to still get yourself out there, but like, still remain in your comfort zone. And the one thing I say is, a lot of the times, I'm a big proponent of business cards. I've done networking, seminars for like, high schoolers all the way up to like, middle-aged people. And, the basics around getting yourself out there, like knowing how to handshake somebody, having business cards, having, your elevator pitch. These are all things that are going to prepare you for whatever your next opportunity is, whatever your next interview is going to be, whatever your next collaboration is going to be. And it's just so important to consistently get yourself out there. And to go to networking events, go for coffees if you're an introvert and you work better on a one-on-one basis, don't be scared to reach out to people that you want to network with, because ultimately you're building your network, but you're also building the kind of brand. So I have people reaching out to me all the time that want to go for coffees, and right away, like, I can tell just based on how they interact if they're someone who's really serious and really wants to make a difference and really wants to get far in their career, or if they're someone that's just wants to waste their time, waste my time.
Making their list.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Can you give me one tip on handling fear of rejection, which is what 99% of time people are like, I'm not Nav, I'm not tall, good looking, I don't have one tip.
So I'll be honest, man.
Picture everybody naked, doesn't work.
I have a huge fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And I'll be open about that. I
would have never guessed. I'm serious. Like, of all the things I've seen you do,
it's crazy. I have it's not, and this is me being totally honest. It's something that even now, being in the business development world, I love winning. Like, I love being able to, have a meeting with somebody that I really wanted to connect with, or I love, being successful and landing a gig, or closing a deal, or meeting, a sales number. But sometimes when those things don't happen, it's very hard to sort of, get a bit deep and be like, oh crap, the world's over. But one thing I'll say about dealing with rejection, and I'm learning it now in my new role with the CFL, is it's not the end of the world. Like, if you get a no, actually I got this advice yesterday from my VP. It's celebrate the no's. Like, celebrate the no's, and like if you're brave enough, find out why you got the no. Find out why.
That's a great advice.
Find out why this person doesn't want to meet with you. And it's weird because I never had anyone ever say no to meeting with me. I've had people that stood me up before. I've had people that let's meet up, and you send them an email and never respond. But if you're ever going for an opportunity, it's funny. I tell people how many opportunities actually open up to you if you ask. And I've seen it happen where someone's actually said no to me for something, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, why? And then we'll talk, and I end up getting something else out of it. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. And that's the one thing I'll say is, celebrate the no's, figure out why it was a no, and then use that to your advantage next time, because it'll make the fear of rejection disappear.
So I think we got like an extra tip out of that from you. So this is a bonus. You better like and comment below and share this. But I like that. Get yourself out there, but be prepared. Don't just show up in a networking event, no cards, no nothing. You're like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
What's your rule on like when you're out to network and the pressure to like drink and mingle?
Man,
because we've all seen those people.
So for me, to be open and candid, if it's a networking event with a couple drinks, I'm the kind of guy that I'd have a drink just to loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
Just to get in the zone and just to sort of kind of break the ice. And what I would say is don't go to a networking event, especially if it's open bar, to get wasted, because then you're just not doing anyone favors. But, keep it cash, Ideally, a networking event shouldn't be a party. It should be something where you're like, hey, I want to go meet some people. I want to build my network.
Have some purpose.
Yeah, have some purpose. I want to build my personal brand by telling people who I am and what I do. And, one thing I'll say about networking events is, again, like, treat it like a game. Like, go there with like a goal in mind that, hey, you know what? I want to go to this networking event, and I don't care if it's 10 people or 100 people. I want to walk out with like 2 solid people that I want to connect with after, or I want to still connect with later. And you'll have the right mindset. And there's so many sharks out there. Like, I'm not a huge fan of people like give their business card right away, because I feel like a business card should be earned.
Yeah,
you should try to get that conversation going. You should make that business card like the prize, right?
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. And that's all part of it, making a game. And I'll be honest, and I hope no one's watching this that I've actually done this to, but there's been times where I've met people and I look at them and I'm like, okay, they're just, quite frankly, I don't like their whole approach, or it just rubbed me the wrong way. And even though I have a business card on me, I'll say I don't have any on me, unfortunately, because like I just don't know what their intentions are. And I think that's the key thing you want to keep in mind in any networking situation when you go to an event, is go there with a purpose, like we've talked about, and really use it to your advantage and set goals, man. Like, treat it like it's a game, treat it like it's a sport. Like, be like, you know what, this will be time well, because you're spending time. This will be time well spent. This will be a return on investment if I can walk out with like 2 contacts.
4 gems already. I'm getting a little sad because we only have 1 more left.
One more.
But so far we got a
How am I doing?
You're doing great, bro. This is fantastic. Like, if you're not watching this and writing some of this down,
oh my God,
you're a mess. Like, stop watching right now. Like, if you have not written down the first 4, stop it, because we're obviously not useful to you.
Yeah.
But when I started in this game, like, where do you learn this stuff? Right? It's one thing to read it in a book.
It's experience, man.
But it's the other thing to hear somebody go, okay, like when you say, I have fear of rejection, that resonates. Because your brand is like, I'm this confident, outgoing, public speaking mayor.
Oh God,
right?
Stop.
I'm starting to.
You're starting the campaign for me right now.
I'm starting to fund right now.
Oh God.
Okay. But that's what they see, and then when we share some of this stuff, they're like, oh shit, okay. So there is a potential for greatness.
Yeah, 100%.
When I know this is real, it happens to me.
Yeah.
I'm scared shitless.
Yeah.
But Nav went through it, Sathish went through it, Sonia went through it.
We all went through it.
Right? Kundan went through it.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone through it.
100%.
So then you have to believe that there is a possibility, even if you don't see it. And you just fake it till you make it.
And that's the thing, and that's the key. Like, people laugh at the phrase "fake it till you make it," but no, like, I've been taught that my whole life.
Yeah.
Like, just
I'm faking it now.
Yeah.
Episode 4. We'll make it. Don't worry.
You got like a little Coca-Cola sponsorship.
Tip 5, man. Let's get into tip 5.
Tip 5 is, again, it's very simple, but it's all about building a presence. Like, focus on building a presence. It goes back to, I think it's a great way to sort of summarize the previous 4, but, build a presence online. Like, be conversational. If there's a news story breaking that you're very passionate about, use social media as an avenue to speak about it. If there's a debate happening at work and you're like, man, I'm really feeling a certain way about it, get involved. Like, building a presence is not just building a presence on social media and hoping that you'll get a ton of likes and you end up breaking the internet. It's really about, having almost an aura around you where people are like, you know what, I respect this guy's opinion because, he knows what he's talking about. He's not scared to sort of share it, kind of share what's on his mind and kind of go from there. And I think it's so crucial now when you have a personal brand to figure out what your presence is, because there's people like I mentioned I've met where I'm like, I'm not really feeling your vibe right now. But there's other people where I'm like, man, like you just seem very warm, and figure out ways. And there's subtle cues to do that too. Like there's ways in which I get teased a lot because I cross my arms and people think like, oh, you're very closed up. So one of the things I've been working on to sort of kind of build a more open and inclusive presence is kind of speaking more with my hands, but keeping everything open, because it's all about body language.
But now that's a conscious thing you're working on, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because some people have told me like, oh, you sometimes look bored, or sometimes you look like you're like closed up, you don't want to talk, and that's the thing. Like you want to be able to walk into a room and you want people to be like, oh, who's that? Like, oh, okay. Like who's this person? Like you want to be able to sort of build that aura around yourself, and it takes time. Yeah. This is probably the hardest tip, and again, it goes back to figuring out what your personal brand is. But if you can figure out the kind of presence you want to leave in a room, in a situation, in an interview, you'll definitely set yourself up for success.
Talking about walking into rooms, I get the best seats in every restaurant on Girard Street.
Yeah, actually?
Yeah.
I gotta go with you.
This seat. Really? I still have to pay the bill, but I do get the option for the best seat. So there is a benefit after 10 years. But man, incredible tips.
Oh my God.
And
Thanks for having me,
we're gonna put all the contact details down below for you to get in touch with Nav.
Let's connect.
One last question.
Yeah.
This is off the topic from a tip perspective, but you've got this academic brand, training, and profession. Then you've got this music and et cetera.
I dabble too.
Have you learned something from either side that you didn't expect that helped you? So something that you were like, oh shit, it made me a better marketer because I'm my own podcast, or I know how to now, do stuff because of my education that I didn't think would benefit to me.
I would say, and it's helped me now, my new role is like business development, man. Like we're like connecting with people. It's funny how I always was scared of sales. Like I was like, oh, I can't do sales. Like I can't be on the phones. I can't be like, meeting targets. Like it's just too intimidating. Like I got to be more on the brand creative side. But, when I think about just me coming up as, a marketer or coming up as, an aspiring TV host, I was cold calling people all the time for my own personal benefit. Yeah. Like I was emailing random people on LinkedIn about coffees. I was emailing events around the community about, hey, do you need an MC? And ultimately, I was like, man, like, I have the skill. I just haven't realized it because I was so focused on what the end goal was. And I remember like it being something now in my new role. I'm like, hey, it just comes very easy to me. And again, it goes back to being able to connect with people. And I would say like that's the one thing. Yeah, I think the one thing of being able to sell yourself is a skill that I've been able to obtain sort of outside of the academics and marketing world, and now I've been able to sort of bring in.
Fantastic. Probably like 7 tips today. 2 bonus.
I lost count. Okay. I lost count.
5 tips from the master class. I'm humbled. Thank you for being here.
Man. Appreciate
Anything
it.
you want to plug?
Social media, at Nanwa is my Twitter, at NavNano is my Instagram.
And there's a few shows you're emceeing that we'll plug as
Yeah. I'm all over the place this summer. Shout outs to everyone that's ever booked me. Shout outs to Sats.B, trying to still get that desiFEST check.
Make sure you follow him, subscribe to us, and again, at the end of the day, everything about this show is to give you guys actual tips that real hustling, innovating, 100%. Disrupting people are using every single day to move their career forward. So this is not just another chapter in a book, an indigo somewhere. This is real shit that actually is helping. And get in touch with this man.
Please do.
And take him out for coffee. You pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm Sats.B. This is Nav. We are out.
Grande Pike.